Today's video is going to describe Chapter 4.2, Simplifying Algebraic Expressions. And so hopefully you had a chance to look at the 4 vocabulary words on the page before we got here, but I want to talk about what some of that vocab means. So I want to start with the idea of term. And in this particular problem we have 4 terms. One is here, one is here, one is here, and one is here. So my 4 terms are going to be 6x. Be careful, this next one is not 2y. The next term is negative 2y. The next term is x. And then the final term is negative 5. And so it's really important, we talked about this in yesterday's video, that we start to think of these not only as subtraction signs, but also as negative signs. And it is not a coincidence that they look the same. I want to talk about what a coefficient is. So coefficient is the number that is in front of the variable. Okay, and so in this particular problem, the coefficient is 6. In this particular term, the coefficient is negative 2, not 2, negative 2. In this term, right, a lot of people think the coefficient is 0. It's not 0, the coefficient is 1, right? There's an invisible 1 there. And this, because there is no variable, actually doesn't have a coefficient. However, this negative 5 is a constant, which means it never changes. Right? It always remains the same. So depending on what I make x or what I make y, these values could change. It doesn't matter what x and y are. This will always be negative 5, which is why it's a constant. And then finally, the 6x and the x are like terms because they are alike. So they would have to be identical in terms of the variables. Right? So now if one of them, let's pretend that there was a term that was like 3xy. 3xy would not be like terms with any of these, because even though it has an x, it also has this y, and this doesn't have a y. It has a y, but this doesn't have an x. Okay, and then keep in mind the coefficient is not important in terms of determining like terms. So as we're looking for like terms, we're only talking about the variables. All right, so we're going to practice combining like terms. And so the coefficient is going to be really important when we do something like that. So you got 5x plus 3 plus 7x plus 4. And so what I want to do, and I'm going to kind of take you through each step, and then we're going to start doing some of this stuff in our head, is the first thing I would need to do is the commutative property, and I'm going to move the 5x, I'm going to move the 7x, I'm essentially going to swap these two, 7x plus 3 plus 4. Right? And because addition is one of the properties I can use the commutative property with, I'm going to commute those, and then I'm going to associate these two and these two. And so I'm going to put 5x plus 7x, since they're like terms, inside parentheses, and 5x plus 7x becomes 12x. Right? So notice that the x doesn't change. So I have 5x here, I got 7x here. In total, I would have 12 of them. And then 3 plus 4 is 7. So as I simplify this, it's going to become 12x plus 7. Now let's talk about what happens when there is subtraction involved. So in this particular problem, what I'm going to do is I can move them again, but remember that this is 5n, this is 2, this is negative n, and this is negative 6. So as I move things around, I would have to move a negative n or a negative 6. A lot of times people just move numbers and leave the sign there. So for example, if I were to flip these two, which is what I want to do, it doesn't become 5n plus n minus 2 minus 6. This is kind of married to the n, right? It's part of the n. And that's because this is a negative 1, right? So this becomes 5n minus n plus 2 minus 6. And now if I combine like terms, 5n minus n, and remember that there is a 1 that's here. 5n minus 1n, this is 4n. And then 2 minus 6 is positive 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Right? And so because it's negative 4, this is a subtraction. And again, remember we talked about this yesterday. The magic is that I can make this, if this is subtraction, I can go plus negative, and then I got my negative 4 again. Okay, so this is 4n minus 4 when I simplify. All right, then one last way I want you to practice this is kind of a combination of some of the stuff that we worked on yesterday. So we're going to first have to distribute, and then we're going to have to simplify. So keep in mind that I'm distributing this number, not the 3. I'm distributing negative 3 times x and times negative 2y. So this becomes 6y minus 3x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2y is positive 6y. Now, some of you are going to do this next step in your head, but I kind of want to show you exactly how it's going to work. What I'm going to do is switch these two, but keep in mind this is negative 3x, and this is positive 6y, so the signs are going to move with them. So this is going to become 6y, and then I'm going to move this other 6y over here, but it was a positive 6y, and then I'm going to move the negative 3x behind it. And so this ends up becoming 12y minus 3x. Okay, as we move forward in algebra, it's really important that we start to keep the sign with the number that it belongs to. So had you switch these and move the 6y and the 3x, you actually changed the value of the problem. And you would have had 0y, plus 3x, which essentially is just 3x, but that's not at all what this simplifies down to. All right, so that's all I got for you from section 4.2. Please make sure that you finish the problems that are on the bottom of the page. We're going to work on a lot of this stuff in class. So thank you for watching the video. I'll see you in class.